Yeah, 14 gauge, it's always stiff. It's not like it's, yeah, it doesn't matter how much, it's still gonna be stiff. And so once you get that kind of going over and kind of coming around a little bit, then you can, well then what I do is then I'll go ahead and take the hammer and start bringing it around a little bit. So as you see, I'm trying to hit and glance off of it. I'm not just trying to drive the metal and thin it out, because I'm really not trying to put a bunch of marks in the metal, but I'm trying to get it to go the direction I'm going. When I'm coming up on that tip, I'm lightening my blow quite a bit because it's easy to thin it out. I'm trying not to beat that tip up. That's also why I wouldn't have came in with the hammer right when it was red or anything, because I really don't want to thin the metal out or drive a bunch of marks into it. They slip off because you're hammering. Still relatively hard. So there I'm still using my leverage to pull this piece down and then whacking it. That way you'd kind of drive that material around as you're going. More than my wheel does. There was a wheel that was in Reno, that's where my shop was, that was for the Harris Automobile place. When they had a beautiful shop back in the day. They had a wheel that was like 14 feet tall. It came up. It was just this monster wheel. But the frame is so rigid that if you're not used to that, you barely had to put any energy in the thing, and your panel goes quick one way or the other. So think about all those things, because it's all that pressure. It's okay, how much pressure for a quarter turn on this wheel compared to my wheel? How is it going to affect my piece of material? How do I go through that? Because the more you think about all those little things, the quicker and faster you're all going to be like, wow, this shit is actually doing what I want it to do. It's going in the direction I want it to go. Because in my experience, it's those little nuances that you skip. You know, I besides watching some of Ron's, I taught myself how to do all this shit. I didn't go to school. Back then, I didn't have somebody to go watch to do it. I did it by just figuring it out. I mean, that's how I did most everything, whether it was working on a motor to machining. I did it by figuring it out, but the only way you get to figure things out is you gotta watch all those little nuances. In what am I doing and why is it doing this? Why did it give me this effect? Why did it push me to this direction? all those different things. And so go around your shop. You might have been on your wheel a million times and never understood a quarter turn is how much pressure on the head. How much does it take to start getting my deflection on my wheel where it actually starts spreading my wheel? What does it take? And then think about that. Okay, if I'm wheeling stainless steel, well, it's going to take this. It's going to take this much more pressure. How far does my wheel peak out? My wheel only has so much rigidity to it. I can only move metal of this strength, this thickness. You know, and that's why I have little benchtop wheels. I have bigger wheels. You know, you have different things to address different products. You might be in some aluminum. You might not want a real rigid wheel. You might decide, I need to build myself a wheel that's not as rigid because I need it. I want it more forgiving for this reason. I need it a different, you know, situation for over here. Like there's no one set thing. I mean, I think any great guy shaping metal or doing a ton of metal shaping, his way of solving problems is always inventing tools and inventing things like mixed tools, like all these different things to get you there. Because never think that any of us come in and it just magically happens. It just doesn't. It doesn't magically happen. When it does, it's because that guy has done it so many times and has perfected every bit. But it doesn't mean that that guy can come from his shop and go into some other random shop and think it's going to go that magical for him. Mm-hmm. Because if he's on a different wheel, if he's on a different planer sheet hammer, if he's on different things, I mean, I know Ron's probably worked in a ton of different people's shop. I have. Everything is different. Like, you might go into the wheel and be like, whoa, you know, what happened here? Why did that happen? Well, it happens because the deflection off the wheel, the amount of energy that wheel can put into your piece is different. Think of it. If you stay very methodical about it, it will help your metal work out tremendously. It'll get you there easier. You'll learn, you'll be like, oh, okay, I finally made a panel that went the direction I wanted it to the first time. I don't have all these things I'm trying to pull out of the panel, and that's because you stretched more in one area.
The old boy I kind of learned off of, you know, you would do some stuff, and then it would be kind of going okay, but the edges would be a little bit wobbly and whatnot. And he used to say, smooth it out, you know, which means going over it gently. You know, and just even it out, see what you got, and then go back to, you know, and then creep up on it some more.
Yeah,
you know,
just even out that tension. That's what you want
I
to
was
do.
struggling with quite a complicated piece.
Right.
That had a kind of a reverse curve on it.
Yep.
And he says to me, okay, he said, right, hit it there real hard, like in other words, a lot of pressure.
Yep.
He said, take it right out to that edge and hit the edge real hard. And I did exactly what he said. And the middle of this thing came right up and it moved the metal up there, and then all of a sudden the edge has gone like this. Yeah. And he said, did you see what that done? I said, yeah, it moved that, it pulled the metal out the middle of the panel and moved it to the edge. Yep. And he said, yeah, right. He said, now smooth it up under the guillotine and start again.
Got it?
Yep. Watch your eyes. Come in and just watch as the metal starts to move and then come back off of it. Just as you see it move, come back off of it. You're not looking to, I mean, you are bending it, but if you are bending it, you went too far, too quick. And so you're not trying to just drive it into place. You're really, you know, you're going off of that feel. And that feel of watching it, okay, how much farther do I go to get a little less spring back on my piece as I got a minute ago when I was driving it in. And so you're just really watching it.
So you're sneaking up on it.
Very easily, exactly. That's a good, you know, because you don't just want to say, hey, go here. You'll get it to go there, but you'll have some repercussions that you didn't like.
The slowly bending multiple times. Stainless, is that going to be the same thing on a mild steel or remote?
Pretty much. I'd rather slowly get to my solution than ever tell it to be there. When you're telling it to be there, depending on the exact piece, I mean, if you're doing a drastic shape, you'll tell it to be there because you know in that process you're also coming back and you're stretching or shrinking that metal, and so sometimes you got to really draw something out to get a drastic shape in it. When you're not doing a drastic shape, I think Ron, the first night we were here, was saying like on your hood or your car in your trailer, and he's like, a low crown is difficult. What makes a low crown difficult is because a lot of people don't sneak up on it. You got to go really slowly to get to low crown, or you're not going to get an even low crown to it. And so it's kind of like that. You got to really easily go at it to get there. Don't just be like telling it just to end up there. And so again, if you just kind of walk it through, you can see that taper starts to come in the piece. And I'm trying to get that taper in the piece without distorting this too much or distorting this too much, but actually get it to start to draw into that section. And so that's really all I'm trying to do right now, is just slowly manipulate it, you know. Slowly get it there, not just forcing it there. And if you get a little wobble in the side or you get anything funny, you'll be able to straighten it out. Like the last process of this exhaust tip is doing that. It's planishing. It's coming in with the dolly to get it right where you want it. But the other thing is I want it even, you know, and so if you shove it too much, too fast, you're not going to get this even look out of it. And you know, metal can move slow, stainless moves slower. So I'm roughly taking it down to where I'm happy with the taper. I'd probably go a little bit more. If I had, probably, you know, if I wasn't worried about time, I could do this probably for 20 minutes, slowly walking this piece in to where I want it to be. That's how you're going to get it there without messing up your piece. And as it really starts to get down there to that size you want it, it's a little easier to start putting it in. You know, it's easier to really start getting that taper in there on that piece. So then at that point, we'll go back to the heat to really bring this in. Could you do it without heat? You're going to fight yourself tremendously without heat. You got to shrink this so much to bring it in. Stainless is so hard. I wouldn't recommend it. Yes, sir.
Shout your question. Is that tool that
Kill that one sec. I've been pounding metal too many years.
Tool you made yourself by just welding a spear on a piece of metal. That's not
Yes.
the thing. Okay.
Yes, just, you know what I do is, I got a bunch of different ones. I just buy ball bearings of all different, I got them up to like 3 inches, 2.5,
Wow, cool.
all sorts of different things. I just buy ball bearings and,
Buy 'em one at a time.
correct, you can buy, Amazon sells them one at a time. You can buy a 3-inch ball bearing solo. And get that. They're nice and hard. You know, they're great for forming on. And you just make whatever you want with it. So now the trick here is don't hit it too hard. And you got to get a great assistant like Jere to get your torch rolling. Nicest thing about like that gas saver that Jere sells and stuff, it's great for things like this because you could set it up off of a foot pedal. You can do like he does and have the little weight on it. All these different things. And when you're in doing that, it's just, again, it's just going to be the delicate work of bringing that around without stretching it back out. I'll go a little more. And I'm sure you guys can hear how lightly I'm really hitting the thing. You're not getting that big ping out of it by any means. You really just think of it. You're trying to shrink that metal, so you want to drive it into itself. You don't want to thin it out. So it really comes down to this hand and how hard you're hitting it. You know, I'm not way down here on the hammer. I'm way choked up on the hammer. And you're just lightly driving that in so that it comes in on itself. Now we could just keep going. We could take that as far around as you feel like the look you want is. You know, I'm happy with that. And so, you know, I'd come back, use that tip to lightly planish it out however you want it. Just again, light hits. Now overall, it actually came together not like relatively flat on the sides. It doesn't have, you know, it has some hammer marks on it, but it's not super wavy. At that point, I would still go back and either drop in a smaller shape. tie it in a little there if I need to. Jere's vise is a little bit different than mine. If I was spending more time, I'd probably keep that taper going in a little bit more. I probably would have spent, you know, another 30 minutes on bringing that taper in. Try to make it a little more defined. Maybe I brought it into the smaller size so it's a little more peaked out. But that's, you know, that's a majority of what it would take. Then at that point, you're basically down to just shaping, and so just driving that shape into it. And so you might have to come back on that backside like that. You can see where it pinched up a little on me. You're just gonna take it down real easy. Don't whack it too hard. Just bring it down easy.